Yeah, I mean, where's the line, right? Other thoughts. Ken?
I thought there would be like a better way of when you sign up for it, like of the website vetting you before you can post. Even though like you're still anonymous, you still have to like prove that you're. So I didn't know there wasn't like a checks and balance with that. So
There really isn't. Like, let's say, for example, if I had a limitless budget, and I said, hey guys, today I'm going to give you all $20, and what I want you to do all time during class today is type up repeated positive reviews of my company. Is there anything to stop me from doing that? No. Or I could even say, hey, with too much positivity, today we're going to go to the other side of the coin. I'm going to pay you $30, and for all hour, I want you to slam my competitors in online reviews. There's nothing to stop somebody from doing that. Jason, you're going to add to the conversation.
Yeah, I think it's kind of this double-edged sword where either way there's going to be a problem, because if you protect everyone's anonymity, you always run that risk of people just kind of manipulating it to give unfairly good or unfairly bad reviews. But on the other hand, if you pretty much get rid of that veil, people who are trying to give honest feedback, that's not necessarily positive to their employers per se, all of a sudden they're in the firing line of getting fired just for being honest. So I think either way, there's sort of some problem is going to present itself, and companies like Yelp just kind of have to take it upon themselves to vet people.
And here's where we get into the labor context. You guys all have great observations, by the way. Let's say, for example, I worked for a union company. Let's say I worked for Norfolk Southern, who is still in Altoona as of this moment, and decided to walk onto their page and start writing about all these unfair labor practices that I say happen. I'm doing so under the veil of anonymity. Could this get the attention of folks in the media, for example? Oh, yeah, these guys are being abused, they're being treated poorly, they're not being paid well. My employer, has no idea who's writing these reviews, and what the employer is basically saying is, how is this fair to us to have that as protected speech? We want to know who the names are of the people posting this stuff so that we can either address these concerns or at least find out if we're being unfairly represented. The flip side is, in terms of protected speech, we're supposed to also be able to protect our opinions under the First Amendment if they are matters of public concern. So the question is, at what point do the company's interest and the individual's right for anonymity come into play? The NLRB's opinion on this, which just came out a few days ago, is essentially you can't hide behind the veil of anonymity. If you want to have something to say, it could potentially be protected speech, but you're going to have to own it. Does that make sense, guys? What are your thoughts? Would you be more or less likely to criticize an employer online if you had to put your name on it? What do you think? Does that make you more or less likely to say something negative about an employer, or anybody for that matter? Yeah, if you know it can come back on you, you don't always say what you're thinking. It's just like the idea, for example, using a prescient example, the idea of evaluations. If you guys all had to put your name on it and said, Tonkin's a jerk, signed Bill Smith, for example, it'd be like, wow, Bill Smith said that about me, and the idea that I could have retaliation against you. Not that I would, but the idea being that's why they're anonymous. And if you can't guarantee anonymity, sometimes people don't say what they really think. That makes sense, guys? Okay. We got off to a little bit of a weird start for a Monday just because of the issues with tech and everything else. Let's say that right now, starting at 10:23, class has just started. So we're getting in with a fresh start today. Guys, I'm going to start off today because I want you guys to be part of this experience before I jump into this material. I would like to start today with an opening for a question or comment. Would anybody like to ask or say anything before we get started today? Despite the fact that our momentum got thrown off by the projector issue, I'm in like a super good mood today, and I would love for you guys to have a good day today too. So what would you like to talk about to start today? Yes?
What other animal other than a duck can swim, walk, and fly?
Ooh, besides a duck, can swim, walk, and fly other than a duck? A swan?
Yeah, I guess birds.
Yeah. That's true. It's true. That's a great question. Can we get one more question? That just made my day. Can we get one more question like that? That's a fantastic question. Who else has a question or something to say today? Oh, I'm sure. It's a Monday, guys. What would you like to talk about before we get it? Yes.
Your thoughts on Steelers-Browns fight?
What? a jerk. Why would you do that to somebody? Like, what possible gain is there in hitting somebody in the head with a football helmet on national television? Like, why? Why would you do that? And the worst thing, it's like within 10 minutes of that happening, it already got turned into an angry lady cat meme. Have you guys seen that too? Where the angry lady is hitting the Steeler in the head and he's a cat. It's terrible. Yes.
There was this video that they posted on Barstool, I think, and this guy took a helmet to like a wooden chair and it completely split the chair in half.
Yeah, it's not good. Getting hit in the head with a helmet when you're not wearing a helmet is not good. Yeah, what a jerk move. I think that guy should be thrown out of the league. Do you guys agree? What do you think? Come on, I know we got some Ohio people here. That's all right. What do you think?
I mean, well,
You gotta admit that was not sports.
yeah, he's very athletic for that. Like, there's no, like, it's unacceptable. But, like, on the flip side, though, like, you can't just be like, oh, I mean, like, if you watch the full play, like, it wasn't even him that started. Like, Mason was, like, ripping his helmet off on the ground and, like, hitting him in the leg or whatever he was doing on the ground.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, it was kind of like, it didn't look like he was just retaliating because like, you really didn't see the full play. But, I mean, this narrative that, like, oh, he just hit him in the helmet just because he was trying to, like, charge at him is, like, not even accurate. Like, it was, like, in retaliation, but still, it's, like, no means am I, like, saying that's okay. It's, like, he could have, like, killed him.
Yeah, that could be that's a life-threatening illness for sure. Well, I guess the bottom line on it is just you're right. There's two sides to every story, and there was a build-up to what happened there. I don't disagree. You're right. But yeah, that's a tough thing to watch on national television. So, all right. With that being said, we can go into this discussion today knowing that none of us are getting hit in the head with a helmet in this class today. So your day's already gotten better. We left off talking about mediation and arbitration. What's the difference, guys? What's the difference between a mediator and an arbitrator? Mediator does what? Yes, Elliot.
They're just kind of there to keep everything calm, keep communication going, but the arbitrator is the one that can make the decision.
That's exactly right. You can also have somebody who plays both roles. You can have somebody who starts off and mediates, then arbitrates the actual decision too. So you can have a one-stop shop there. One danger to that being is sometimes you can lose your perspective. If you're too far down in the weeds with the mediation, you sometimes are not unbiased when it comes down to the idea of arbitration. So again, you can also have a third party who would play both these roles, and you could, for example, sub it out either way. All this means, guys, is you could have different people who are doing this stuff. You can do arbitration first, actually, where you make the major decisions and come back later and work out some of the fine details. You can also do what we refer to as tri-offer arbitration, and that means both parties come to the table and offer potential solutions, and the third party suggests how it comes out in the middle. So individuals still can play a role in this. Then we have what we have referred to a double offer final arbitration, double final offer arbitration. And that means that if we're getting together and we're trying to make a decision, let's say Emily and I have companies, and she's at the union, I'm with the company, we're trying to come to some resolve. We each come to the table with two potential solutions for evaluation. So we've got some room to make decisions. Now, you may have seen this in the text. Night baseball arbitration is an interesting path. And what this means, guys, it's kind of like a winner-take-all kind of arbitration. But here's the way it works. Each side in the dispute writes down what they think the major issues are and what the solutions should be, and they submit them to an attorney, an arbitration attorney. This person basically opens up both proposals without anybody else in the room, makes an independent decision based on what you have laid before them. It's a very high-risk type of negotiation because you're really not taking any part in the active discussion about it. So it's called night baseball arbitration, and it's a derivative of traditional arbitration. Just remember that you put everything in envelopes. In terms of the way we use economic pressure, guys, let's talk about this conversationally. How can a union exert economic pressure on an employer? What are ways in which the union can pull on the you-know-whats of the employer? Yes? $2 billion in a month's worth of production. So Our first thing is we can stop production. We can keep you from making product. We can keep you from making money. Some of the other things that we can do, for example, we can go on strike and we can have an economic strike, which means we're going on strike because we're not happy with our pay. Unfair labor practice means we're going on strike because you're mistreating us. We are not being treated well. There might even be something illegal happening here. Sympathy means, for example, if we're the United Steelworkers and we see that our brothers and sisters in the United Auto Workers are going on strike, well, we're going on strike too, because we make steel for the car industry and we're going to exert double the pressure on these companies. Then you have what we refer to as illegal strikes. A partial strike means part of the union decides to go out on their own. Let's say, for example, we have the United Auto Workers, and the axle assembly guys are all like, you know what, we don't like this deal with GM. We're going off without sanctions from the union, without anything other than our own opinions, and we're walking the line. That's a partial strike, and it's illegal. Who here's ever heard the term wildcat strike? It sounds like something like, wow, these guys are getting into like ninja fights or something. It's a wildcat strike. But these guys, when they go out on wildcat strikes, means with no organization or orders from nationals or even possibly the regionals, just decide to go off and have a strike because they're unhappy with something. And it could be outside of the terms of an impasse or anything else. If you decide to go on strike, just to go on strike. A jurisdictional strike, what that means, guys, is that you are defying the rule of nationals, the national union, which your party said you're not going on strike. Well, we've decided we are. Work slowdowns. You guys remember, for example, we talked about the unions that did work slowdowns during the 1940s and 50s by just doing sit-ins. There's a term for that we use in the HR world. When you show up, pardon my French, you show up and do your job really half-assed. What's the term for it? It's not absenteeism. It is, I love this term, it's presenteeism. It's showing up and not being there. It's like, and I apologize if I quoted this before. I love Homer Simpson. He has so much wisdom. And he said to his daughter one day when she was unhappy with her working conditions, "Now, Lisa, when you're not happy with your job, you don't call in sick. You just go in and do it really half-assed." And that's Homer Simpson's essence of the American way. And that's what a work slowdown is all about. And then we can also get into boycotts. And that means, for example, if I'm the Teamsters, well, we're boycotting Walmart. We're not going to be getting pickups or deliveries at Walmart. So that would be an example of a boycott. And that would actually be a secondary boycott because the Teamsters don't work for Walmart. A primary boycott would be you might boycott one of your suppliers. If you're the United Auto Workers, for example, you might be boycotting steel from the steel workers. Now, if you're the employer, if you choose not to let people come to work because of a labor impasse, it's called a lockout. You literally lock people out. If you are trying to as well, if you are on strike, for example, it depends on the terms of your collective bargaining agreement and the conditions by which the strike happens. You might bring in non-union employees to start doing the work and paying them a lower wage. Could end up in a bad situation if the NLRB decides that you're the loser on this side of things, meaning you used non-union personnel to keep your company operating, meaning when the union gets reinstated, you're going to be paying those folks union wages plus back pay. And temporary replacement workers are similar. By the way, there's a very derogatory term that we use for non-union employees who are brought in to work union jobs in these scenarios. What do they call those folks? Scabs. That's like the nastiest sounding thing in the world. It's like, you're not a replacement worker, you're a scab. And it's like, it's how you say it too. It's like certain things just sound bad when you say them. Scab sounds bad. By the way, that's the reason I don't eat hummus. I hate the name of that word. Like, do we have any hummus fans in here? Who likes hummus? I can't eat it. I can't eat it because the name sounds like it's made out of earwax or something. It's like hummus. That's a terrible name. Who thought of that name? I don't know what it is. My wife says I'm crazy, but I can't eat hummus because of the name. And I think scab has that same kind of result. Like, I dare. Can anybody in this room say the word scab and make it sound happy? Can you do it? I dare you. I triple dog dare you. Can you do it? Can anybody do it? I knew it. Nobody's taking the triple dog dare challenge. Wow, there was going to be a cup of coffee in it for you too. Who said that? Adam, you got a cup of coffee. Do that one more time. That sounded really. That sounded like Scab was a Disney character. All of a sudden, like something in the latest Pixar film, we have a character named Scab. That would be perfect. All right, Adam, you proved me wrong. Get a cup of coffee. When the company runs out of people, when the company runs out of people and people don't come to work at a reasonable time, you can start hiring people. You can start using non-union workers, for example, and you also might say, we're not having the union back. What happens in this scenario, though, it comes down to arbitration with the National Labor Relations Board, because if you're just locking people out for no good reason and you're committing unfair labor practices, you're going to pay for it in the end, most likely. So this is speaking in generalities. Now, guys, check this out. If we look back to the prime years of unions in the United States, basically leading into the 1950s, guys, look at these strikes. If we get into 47 to 50, 51 to 60, look at the number of strikes we had. Over 300 a year in terms of working days that were being eliminated. Total percentage of working time in the United States from 1947 to 1950, 30% of all working time in the United States was strikes, guys. What does that say about the economy in the United States at that time? Because it says a few things. What does it say? First of all, what kind of economy were we during that time? You got it, man. There was one country in the first developed world that suffered next to no industrial damage during World War II, and yes, it was us. So all of a sudden, the workers of the world or the workers of the United States, I should say, were very empowered. We know you need us because we're it, and we can't possibly produce enough product for everybody who wants it. So we're going to exert some pressure. Does anybody remember, too, why so many of the labor unions were ready to go on strike during this period of time? Yes, Elliot.
Because the majority of them had said that they will not protest or strike during the war to help support the country.
Exactly right. We've been making sacrifices. We've been making concessions. It's our time to shine. What else happened during this general period of time? Something very big in the world of unions. Maybe even big in the world of unions. Yes. Yes, we have consolidation of power in the labor movement in the United States we have not seen before or since. And that was when the AFL-CIO came together. 2014, check this out. From 1947 to 1950, we had 300 strikes. In 2012, 2013, 2014, we had, 19, 20, 29, 34, 45 strikes total. It's a big difference, guys. So the power of unions is not what it used to be, and the economic power that they wield is not as big as it used to be. Now, some things that can help us to predict if there's going to be a strike. If you got a high-risk position, for example, think about some of the industries we've talked about. Coal mining. Is there anybody here who would argue that coal mining is not a dangerous profession? It's a very dangerous profession. Steelworking is a very dangerous profession. Working on high-rises is a very dangerous profession. You have a high likelihood of getting hurt in these professions. So if you've got a high-risk profession, for example, and safety standards are not being adhered to, you got a better chance there's going to be a potential for a strike. If you had a long contract, if you went for 10 years with a labor contract, why is there a good likelihood that you might have a strike when you try to renegotiate? Or in general, for that matter. Let's compare. Right now it's 2019. Let's look back to 2009. What's different about our labor economy in 2019 than it was in 2009? What do you think? Yes?
Lower unemployment.
Yeah, so we got, is it arguably an employee's market right now? Yeah. Guys, you guys are, how many of you are seniors, by the way? Oh, you seniors, man, I hope that you guys are inheriting the same labor market we have right now, because you're walking into 3.5%, 4% unemployment. If you're willing to relocate, if you're willing to go south or west, you guys, the world is your oyster right now. It's a good time to be out in the workforce. 2009, not so much. So if we had a labor contract that had been in place from 2009 till today, all of a sudden wages are rising, demand for products is increasing, lower unemployment, and you've been stuck with the same collective bargaining agreement for the last 10 years? No, at some point we're going out on strike because the economy has changed and we haven't kept up for it. Some of the reasons strikes are less likely, for example, if you got a safe work environment where people are well treated, that's less likely. This is one that's really interesting. I'm going to be asking the ladies in here for their opinion on this. I don't mean it as a sexist statement. We're going by the numbers. Generally speaking, if you have a larger percentage of females in a particular industry, a strike is generally less likely. Why is that? Do the ladies in here have any opinions on that? I'm putting all three of you on the spot. I apologize. Because we've got a larger proportion of males to females in this class. Any thoughts? What's the difference, if you don't mind me, because I'm just continuing to put you on the spot. What's the difference in terms of the way that males and females negotiate? Are there differences? Yeah.
Women are less likely to like go like back and forth than like a guy would be. They're just gonna more so like take like the best off that they can get and not like keep asking for more.
That's a really interesting point. In fact, one of the things that we're running into when we start talking about developing females for management, and when I say these, none of this is a sexist statement. This is stuff that we are working on. We have not done a good job in our industrial culture of teaching women how to be good negotiators because so much of it has gone into traditional gender roles, and we're still thinking like it's the 1950s. That's an excellent point. Is there another reason? When I've served on committees that were male-dominated, I've served on committees that were female-dominated. Here's my general difference between the two. Generally speaking, if you have a male, particularly alpha males, will want to inflict their will on a committee. And when I say that is I'm a leader, I've got these ideas, I really would like you to carry them out. When I see female-dominated types of committees or industries, females oftentimes tend to seek consensus and really allow places for everybody else's opinions. Ladies, am I right or wrong here? And it's not to say that the ladies cannot be a little bit more, shall I say, dictatorial like guys. And it's not to say that guys can't learn how to be a little more consensus-seeking like females. But those are traditional gender roles, and it's things we're still working past. What are your thoughts? Am I right or wrong, guys? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I kind of feel like girls want to know everyone's opinion and like kind of like you said, like taking consensus. Like we want to make sure everyone's okay with something before we do it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to upset anyone, I guess. And guys are more like straightforward. Like they just they have something to prove in a way.
I completely agree, and I think, and this is a little bit of a managerial tangent, I think one of the challenges we have in our workforce is making it okay for women to be more aggressive, because that's something, aggression is not something that should be male or female, it's something we sometimes need in industry. We also need to give permission for males to also seek consensus too. So I know this is not a gender studies class or a relationship class, but this stuff plays into the way industry works because we have more women working their way into management right now. So it's something we got to talk about. So, I hope that was a fair statement. I hope I gave a fair and politically correct assessment of what I'm thinking on this stuff, because I think that there's room for us all to learn from each other. So, in terms of why we have strikes, if you are a union, your strike can be for lots of reasons. It can be for pay, it can be working conditions. You can also have a strike if you want to consolidate power in the union and make everybody feel like they're all together, or get people excited about an issue. Guys, we're being underpaid. It's time for us to stand together. You also want to be able to show the union or show the management that you guys stand together. And if you mess with us, we're going to mess with you back. As our good friend Jim Lamont said, sometimes more than others. Now, we've had a number of influential strikes. And I'm going to eat up a little bit of class time with a little 3-minute video that covers the biggest and most influential strikes in